There were three major components of the Children's Television Act of 1990. First, it mandated that broadcasters serve the educational and informational needs of children through programming. Second, it placed limitations on the amount of advertising that could be shown during children's programs. And third, it created the establishment of a national endowment to support the creation of educational programming for kids. However, the Children's Television Act of 1990 was considered the bill with no bite. There was no clear definition of what was meant by educational programming. And as a result, broadcasters would claim that the Flintstones was educational. It talked about the past. Secondly, there were no time restrictions for airing children's programs. As a result, broadcasters put educational programming very early in the morning at like 5 a.m., or late at night, because they really thought that it would take away from their revenue and sources if they aired it during prime time. And third, there was no required amount of time for showing children's programming. So as a result, very little was actually done to increase the quality and quantity of children's programming. Finally, in 1996, the FCC issued regulatory requirements that enforced the Children's Television Act of 1990. Several of these rules we'll discuss here, and they start off with trying to identify who exactly is a child. So they indicated that programming had to be directed to children ages 16 and under. They did start putting time restrictions on. So programs had to air between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. in order to be counted as educational. And programs had to be regularly scheduled and be at least 30 minutes in length. Furthermore, the FCC finally put a definition on what they meant by educational. By educational, they defined it as content that will further the positive development of the child in any respect, including the child's cognitive/intellectual or emotional and social needs. And the FCC implements what they call the 3-hour rule. This requires broadcasters to air a minimum of 3 hours of educational and informational programming each week, effective September 1997. The program had to meet all the previous guidelines that we just discussed in order to qualify as meeting the educational needs of television, and in addition, the stations had to identify educational programming with a logo.